All right, what is up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, guys, I'm going to be talking about America's team and America's team, Gambler and his Cowboys, the Netflix documentary about Jerry Jones, his purchase, the rise and the fall of the Cowboys of the 90s with the triplets and Dion. So I'm going to try to keep this as brief as possible because I want you to check it out, and I don't want to really spoil anything for you, but just my overall thoughts about this. When you look at these kind of documentaries now, the comparison that a lot of people go with, is it as good as The Last Dance or is it better than The Last Dance? For me, I will say this is on par with The Last Dance. I've actually talked to my boy Dame, who said he thought it was better. Now, he may have a little bias because he is a Cowboys fan, but so the thing about these kind of documentaries is you have to keep in mind that a lot of it is skewed towards, the people behind the scenes, which, Jerry's probably executive producer and in charge of everything. But with that being said, when I think of Jerry Jones, I know in the public he's a polarizing figure for a lot of people. For me, I was very indifferent because as a kid, I just remember he was the owner who would come down on the sidelines and, nobody was doing that. And they, oh, here comes Jerry. But after watching this documentary, I found a whole level of respect for Jerry Jones that I didn't have before. Not to say I didn't respect him at all, but it's like this newfound kind of respect to the point that I actually, and I'm a Bears fan. My team is the Bears. Say whatever you want. I know. But my team is the Bears. And after watching this, I actually want him to win. I want him to win one more, like before he goes off into that long sunset to never return and returns back to the earth or whatever. I want to see him win one more, because you see, like I said, I know how these documentaries can be, the narrative for him, but the things that, what it took to get the team, we learn about his relationship with Jimmy Johnson. A lot of stuff we learned that they weren't as close as, as it was being reported. But for Jerry, we learned that for him, getting the Cowboys, being a part of the Cowboys and doing all that, a lot of it came down to the camaraderie, like that he got when he was in college, playing college ball. And as me being somebody who played sports all their life, I played all the way up into college. I played football all the way up into college. I definitely related to that because when you're going through all that stuff and, you're on the team, when you're doing it all, you're not really thinking, you don't think about, you're not really introspective about it. But once it's over, once you're not longer on that team, there's a small void. At least for me, it is, like, especially every spring, or not every spring, but every fall, there's a piece of me that just longs to be in the locker room again and being with the guys I played with in high school and in college. Like, there's just something about that band of brothers and that fellowship you have when you're going through everything, you're two-a-days, and you're going to reach that ultimate goal. And so for Jerry, that's, having the team, he had a sense of that. And what kind of, and a lot of it deals with his relationship with Jimmy Johnson. And I mentioned earlier that we learned they weren't as close as at least we thought they were. But it all came down to who got the credit. That's what you find out. Like, Jerry, from his point of view, he always wanted to be respected as a football guy, whereas Jimmy, he never saw him that way. And that ultimately led to them going separate ways. It sucks. It's one of the great what ifs. And they asked that question at the end of the documentary to the different players, the what ifs, like, would we have won more championships? And I think they asked Troy, Emmett, and I think they asked Dion, and they asked Michael Irvin. And I think Troy Aikman gave the best answer. He said we may have not won any more Super Bowls, but we would have been competitive, like continued to be competitive throughout the years, which I agree with Troy. I think that's where it would have went for the Cowboys as far as that goes. And then, like I said, I talked about Jimmy Johnson. You learn a lot about Jimmy Johnson. I mean, he was no nonsense. And the sacrifice he made for, because that's a lot of this was sacrifice. Like Jerry, he was millions and millions and millions. I mean, I think I heard he was like 40 or 50 million in debt, and then he put it all on the line for this one oil well, and it hit, and that's what helped him get the Cowboys. But to put everything on the line like that, you got to have a big set, and to let your nuts hang and do that. And Jimmy Johnson was the same way. He sacrificed his family. Like, he basically was like, football comes first. Y'all can get on the ride or step off, but this is, and you learn football is his first love. And then we hear from the triplets, the players, Troy, Emmett, Michael, and even Dion, Charles Haley. We learn a lot about these guys. And, what we learned is Mike Irvin, that boy was wild. I mean, I don't think I have to tell you that, but I mean, there was stuff that happened to him, because I remember a lot of this because I was a teenager when the Cowboys were at their peak. And, we knew about the White House and all that, but like some of the other stuff, like there was I'm not want to spoil, but there was an incident with him and a teammate where someone almost lost their life. And they kind of swept that under the rug. I don't remember hearing about that, but there were things like that happened. So it's your typical rise and fall story. Also some of the other stuff that stuck out to me was Skip Bayless.
My turn.
This is back when this is where Skip Bayless made his bones, when he was working for I think it's the Dallas Evening Star or something. Like, he was working for the newspaper there. I'm sorry, I'm just doing this right off the cuff, but he was there. I think he was there for like 18 months or 2 years during their run, and he was there every day. And that's how we learned a lot about the stuff, because he wrote those books, and that's what got him on ESPN and everything like that. But they brought Skip Bayless to talk about some stuff. Barry Switzer, and I found a level of respect for him because, back in the day, he was looked at as like the scapegoat. There's an infamous video where Troy Aikman's losing his mind on the sideline, cussing out everybody, and he's mad because the coach, he's accusing Barry of, not stepping up, which, I mean, he definitely had a great point, because Barry was kind of like, hey man, if we win, we party hard, we win hard, party hard, he was very, very laid back. But I guess you would call him a player's coach, and the players, they loved him. But at the same time, when you're a player's coach, those players who love you ultimately will be the ones who probably get you fired. But we learned a little bit about his backstory and his history, which is very sad and tragic, and the ability to overcome that and still be this positive guy that he was. I mean, kudos to Barry Switzer, and salute to him. And then also just watching the footage, it's just like Last Dance. You get that nostalgia. I loved it because it was the style of football I grew up playing, like the gladiator style football, not what we got nowadays, man. Because like I said, the way, they were showing clips from when the Cowboys were playing the 49ers and those epic NFC championship games, the hits that they were putting on Troy Aikman and Steve Young, you'd probably be up for some felonies if you played in today's league. But yeah, just seeing that, and then hearing the voices of Pat Summerall and John Madden. I mean, it took me back to Sunday dinners at my grandparents' house watching football. So you get all of that, but just all in all, this is just a great documentary. And the tragic thing about it, I guess it's not, well, the sad thing about it is that, like I said, I walked away from this, and I'm a Bears fan and very indifferent. Like I said, before this, very indifferent to Jerry Jones, but golly, there's a piece of me that's like, I want this guy to win, just one more before he goes away. He goes into that forever sunset, for that Cowboy to win one more, because he talks about it. It's more like the family thing, like, and they're all acknowledging that he doesn't have much time left. Like, he talks about, he enjoyed, like, his kids, they got to experience the Super Bowls and all that, but he just feels sad because the grandkids, their kids, they haven't experienced any of that. They've experienced the boos and the disappointments, and you just see clip after clip. Oh, we'll get them next year. And I think his daughter, Jerry's daughter, basically says, we're running out of, we'll get them next year's. And so, it just, like I said, it really, how they did it, man, it really changed my perspective on Jerry Jones. Like I said, if I'm deep down inside, I'm rooting for him. I hope he pulls it off. And like I said, in today's times, they talk about these owners that they don't care about the players. And right now, he's in the whole negotiating with Michael Parsons situation. Last I checked, things could have changed since I did this. But you go back and you listen to what these players have to say about that man. And I mean, the proof is in the pudding. And I know people will bring up the controversy that we saw, I think it was last year or maybe or 2 years ago, when Jerry was a teenager, and it was when they were desegregating the schools, and he just happened to be in the area when now that was going on. And a lot of people came at him, and I have a different perspective of it. And, a lot of, it is the internet. Some people are going to agree, some people, whatever. But I look at it this way. If you look at the picture, it just looks like he's looking around like, what's going on? I mean, he's not like the guy you see in the front that's frothing at the mouth with the cigarette in his mouth, ready to commit violence against the black guy that's going into the school that, Jerry's just standing around. And I think a lot of people are of the opinion that why didn't he do anything? And it's like, look, man, there's stuff that happens all the time. We got the whole thing, the bystander effect, but think about in the hood when some shit happens, there's people that see it and they don't get involved. People actually teach you to mind your own business, don't get involved. And so you expect him, I think he was like 16 years old. You expect a 16-year-old to jump in there and get involved in all that like that. Come on now. Come on now. Now, I look at it this way. Look at the man he is today. Like I said, look at his players. He's probably made more black millionaires than most people. I'm just saying. And then the way the NFL is today, Jerry, with that never say die and that rebellious nature, a lot of the times the rebels, they're able to see the future. They're able to see things before they happen. And Jerry, I mean, you have to say Jerry Jones is integral to the NFL we see today, based on his struggles in the 90s, going up and bucking up against the system. That system he ultimately bucked up against and changed. He was able to bring people aboard, and we got the NFL we got today, and he's very integral to that. So, like, I totally make sense now why he's in the Hall of Fame. It totally does. Because without, not saying it wouldn't have happened, but Jerry Jones was definitely the one who lit the spark to get the NFL to where we are today. As far as its marketability and how it is, they say baseball is America's pastime, but NFL is boss right now. NFL is king. It's the and I don't ever see it going away as the top sport in America. And Jerry Jones had a large part to play in that. So ultimately, is it better than The Last Dance? I will say they are equal. I say they were equal. I think it was great documentaries. But if someone put a gun to my head, I would say maybe Last Dance slightly edges out America's Team, the Gambler and his Cowboys, but god dang, they are on the same level. So, all right, guys. So like I always say, if it's for 1 minute, 5 minutes, the whole damn video, I appreciate you taking time out of your day to view my content. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe, smash the like, and tell me what you thought about this documentary if you haven't seen it yet. And if you haven't seen it, go check it out. It's on Netflix. So with that being said, it's your boy P signing off, guys. I'll see you in the next video. Take it easy.